Welcome to Civil Services Achievers Point. We are discussing the Assam Tribune of 10th August 2020. At Civil Services Achievers Points, we have various offline regular class, online live classes. We have various free initiatives. Students are encouraged to join the various courses. This Assam Tribune analysis will be useful primarily for the APSC new pattern. However, it will be also useful for other state level government examinations. This will be the various newspaper articles which are taken from the Assam Tribune. We will be also discussing the editorial. Now coming to the first topic, India restricts import of 101 defense items in a major push to promote domestic defense industry. Now this topic will come under General Studies 3 Economic Development. In a major push to promote the domestic defense industry, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh on Sunday announced restrictions on import of 101 weapons and military platforms, including light combat helicopters, transport aircraft, conventional submarines, and cruise missiles by 2024. Making the announcement on Twitter, Defense Minister estimated that the domestic defense industry would receive contracts worth almost rupees 4 lakh crore within the next 5 to 7 years as a result of the decision to reduce to prune the import list. Defense Minister estimate the Defense Minister has estimated that due to decreasing or restricting the import list, our domestic industry, the domestic defense industry would receive maximum contracts worth rupees 4 lakh crore within the next 5 to 7 years. Further, our defense minister said that the defense ministry is now ready for a big push to boost indigenous defense manufacturing in tune with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant India. So these points can be noted down, students, and you can use them or quote them in our answers. According to officials, the list of 101 items includes towed artillery guns, short-range surface-to-air missiles, cruise missiles, offshore patrol vessels, electronic warfare systems, next-generation missile vessels, floating dock, anti-submarine rocket launchers, and short-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft. Meaning there are various items included in the restriction to the import list which are mentioned here. The list also includes basic trainer aircraft, lightweight rocket launchers, multi-barrel rocket launchers, missile destroyers, sonar systems for ships, rockets, ASMAC 1 beyond visual range air-to-air missiles, light machine guns, and artillery ammunition 155 mm and shipborne medium-range guns. Students will notice that maximum of these equipments were imported by India. So now restricting of these items will boost or will necessitate that these items are manufactured in India only, and India has to indigenously develop our defense equipments. Further, our defense minister's announcement came a week after a draft defense procurement policy of the defense ministries projected a turnover of rupees 1.75 lakh crore. In US dollars, it will be 25 billion in defense manufacturing by 2025. India is one of the most lucrative markets for global defense giants. As most of the students may know, that India is a highly importing country. So through this policy and this framework, now India aims to be not only self-reliant but also exporting various defense equipments. The country figured among the top 3 importers of military hardware in the world. Here this point is very important. The country figured among the top 3 importers of military hardware in the world for the last 8 years. According to estimates, the Indian armed forces are projected to spend around US dollars 130 billion in capital procurement in the next 5 years. This is a big step towards self-reliance in defense. It also offers a great opportunity to the Indian defense industry to rise to the occasion to manufacture the items in the negative list by using their own design and development capacities, or adopting the technologies designed and developed by the DRDO. In another relevant step, he said the Defense Ministry has bifurcated the capital procurement budget for 2020 to 2021 between domestic and foreign capital procurement routes. Now coming to the next topic, it's a very important topic. Prime Minister launches rupees 1 lakh crore Agri Infra Fund in order to for creation of post-harvest infrastructure and generation of jobs. Now this topic will come under our General Studies 3 paper, economic development topic. Asserting that the government's agri reforms are focused on empowering small farmers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday launched a financing facility of rupees 1 lakh crore under the Agri Infra Fund that will help create post-harvest infrastructure in villages and generate jobs. He also said that the country does not face problems in farm production, but in post-harvest losses, and therefore efforts are being made to strengthen post-harvest infrastructure facilities and ensure better income for farmers. We know that there are various activities and various stages in harvesting. So the post-harvest infrastructure means after harvesting, the storage, the transporting. So this infrastructure is required, and with this fund, the post-harvest infrastructure can be boosted up, and hence it will ensure, and hence this post by strengthening the post-harvest infrastructure facilities, it will ensure better income for farmers. So students, kindly make a note of this point, because these points may be asked in exam in mains, like what are the steps or how can we ensure better income for farmers. So there we may include these points or these policies and schemes. Now coming to the topic, legal hurdles are being removed and major push for agri reforms are being given to encourage investments in rural India for creating post-harvest linkages. Modi launched the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund through a video conference on the auspicious occasion of Balaram Jayanti, a day when farmers worship plowing. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar and farmers from some states also participated in the video conference. On this auspicious occasion, a special fund of rupees 1 lakh crore has been launched to create agriculture related infrastructure facilities in the country. This will help in creating better storage facilities and modern cold storage chains in villages. Many employment opportunities will get created in villages, Modi said after the launch. The Prime Minister reiterated that India has a huge opportunity to invest in post-harvest management solutions like warehousing, cold chain, and food processing, and build a global presence in areas such as organic and fortified foods. So this point is very, very important, that India has a huge opportunity to invest in post-harvest management solutions like warehousing, cold chain, and food processing, and build a global presence in areas such as organic and fortified foods. He also further mentioned that this scheme provides a good opportunity for startups in agriculture to avail the benefits and scale their operations, thereby creating an ecosystem that reaches farmers in every corner of the country. Under the Agri Infra Fund, about rupees 1 lakh crore will be sanctioned under the financing facility in partnership with multiple lending institutions as loans to PSCs, farmer groups, farmer producer organizations, that is the FPOs, agri entrepreneurs, startups, and agri-tech players. Now coming to the next topic, Nagasaki urges nuclear ban, 75th anniversary of US atomic bombing. Now this topic is constantly in news as it is the 75th anniversary of the US bombing. So this topic may come either in prelims and in mains. From prelims perspective, we have already covered this topic through our MCQs. Students are advised to check our daily MCQs so that if any exams come, if any question comes in the examination, we can mark the correct option. Now this topic will come under General Studies 2, International Relations. Also it may also studied under General Studies 3, Technology, Science and Technology, as it also concerns the atomic bombing. Now coming to the news, the background is the Japanese city of Nagasaki has marked its 75th anniversary of the US atomic bombing, with the mayor and dwindling survivors urging world leaders, including their own, to do more for a nuclear weapons ban. At 11:02 a.m., the moment the B-29 bomber boxcar dropped a 4.5-ton plutonium bomb dubbed Fat Man. So the bomb which was dropped in Nagasaki was named Fat Man. Nagasaki survivors and other participants stood in a minute of silence to honor more than 70,000 dead. The August 9, 1945 bombing came after 3 days after the US dropped its first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, the world's first ever nuclear attack that killed 140,000 people. On August 15, Japan surrendered, ending World War II. Now, this August 15 date is very important from Indian perspective. We have already covered this point in our daily MCQs. Students, kindly go through our MCQs. Many survivors developed cancer or other illnesses due to their exposure to radiation and suffered discrimination. Sunday's ceremony was scaled down because of the coronavirus cases in Japan. Nagasaki mayor read a peace declaration in which he raised concern about a growing global opinion supportive of nuclear deterrence. He also urged Japan's government and lawmakers to quickly sign the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, saying the threat of nuclear arms is growing more than ever. Japan has not signed the treaty, saying it seeks a role to bridge gaps between nuclear and non-nuclear states so they have a common ground for dialogue. Now coming to the next topic, defense reforms to steer India towards self-reliance, India Inc. This topic will come under General Studies 3, Economic Development and Security. As we have discussed that India has decided to restrict 101 weapons, importing of 101 weapons, and this decision has been welcomed by various industry bodies, and we will discuss this. India Inc. today said the center's decision to impose restrictions on import of 101 weapons and military platforms and creation of a separate budget for domestic capital procurement in the current financial year are path-breaking reforms towards becoming self-reliant or Atmanirbhar, and will boost the indigenous defense manufacturing. In a major reform initiative to boost the domestic defense industry, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh today announced the restrictions on import of 101 weapons and military platforms, including artillery guns, assault rifles, and transport aircraft. So traditionally, these equipments are generally imported: artillery guns, assault rifles, and transport aircraft. The Ministry of Defense is now ready for a big push to Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, Singh said on Twitter while making the announcement. Welcoming the initiative, the CII Director General Chandrajit Banerjee said the Defense Minister's announcement of negative import list of defense systems and platforms marks the launch of a new path for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Announcement of rupees 52,000 crore for domestic capital procurement coupled with the list of 101 items for import embargo gives a tremendous boost to Atmanirbhar Bharat and indigenous defense manufacturing. Terming it a path-breaking announcement, the Confederation of Indian Industry, that is the CII, said today is a historic day for Indian industry in the defense and aerospace. Can assure the defense minister that the Indian defense and aerospace industry will rise to the challenge and opportunities therein. Further, the FICCI FICCI Defense Committee Chair SP Shukla said the move is a great leap forward towards building a self-reliant India. Further, FICCI applauds the announcement of 101 defense items for embargo on imports, a great leap forward for Atmanirbhar Bharat in Raksha Utpadan. It is in the defense manufacturing. The FICCI chair for the defense committee tweeted, "Great move to earmark rupees 52,000 crore for domestic capital procurement. It fulfills a request by FICCI Defense Committee to provide long-term visibility on defense procurement plans. Industry can now plan its capex and production capacity." ASSOCHAM Secretary General Deepak Sood said with India being amongst the largest importers of weapons, ammunition and high technology systems for the armed forces, self-reliance in defense production is the most desired policy initiative. So it is also mentioned here, students, please make a note of it, that since India being amongst the world's largest importers of weapons, ammunition and high technology systems for the armed forces, self-reliance in defense production is the most desired policy initiative. Increased capabilities in defense production not only offer a great economic opportunity for the domestic industry, but also gives an immense strategic advantage. So this initiative or this step not only has economic opportunity, but at the same time, it gives an immense strategic advantage to the country in a fast evolving geopolitical situation, because as you know, India used to import defense equipments from Russia, from Israel, from France, from USA, but due to fast evolving geopolitical scenario, it is best in the interest of India to be self-reliant in defense manufacturing also. The list of 101 embargoed items comprises some high technology weapon systems like artillery guns, assault rifles, corvettes, sonar systems, transport aircraft, light combat helicopters, radars, and many other items. Now coming to our next topic, railways committed to integrate with GEM portal, that is the government e-marketplace portal, says Goel, the Ministry of from Railways. Indian Railways is committed to integrate with the government e-marketplace GEM portal to move all its procurement to the platform. Now this topic will come under our General Studies 3 paper, Economic Development. The Railways direct procurement of goods for its operations or its public sector undertakings or production units stood at about 70,000 crore to 75,000 crore rupees, the Commerce and Industry and Railways Minister said. I am happy to share that GEM, that is the government e-marketplace, and Indian Railways are burning the midnight oil, working day and night to ensure this entire rupees 70,000 crore procurement on the government e-marketplace platform. Goel said at the GEM CII National Public Procurement Conclave 2020. Our own belief is that it will save railways not less than 10 to 15%, and that could be a saving of as high as rupees 10,000 crore. Railways buys more than 98% of its goods and services in India, and moving this purchase to the GEM portal in the next 8 to 12 months will help in making procurement process more transparent, seamless, efficient and faster. Further, Goel said the Railways has committed itself fully to integrate with GEM and move all procurement there. Imagine we will save tens and tens, thousands and thousands of man hours of procurement time the amount of elaborate tendering and advertisements, bids opening, reverse auction, all of that becomes so seamless that our digital system of the railways will flag the requirement of the GM portal, and it will be available for the whole world to see, and more people will be enticed to register on GEM as suppliers. So the procurement of the Indian Railways will become transparent, and accountability will increase, and manpower or man-hour will decrease. So productivity and efficiency will also increase. He further added that if any supplier or vendor provides bad quality goods to the railways, it will be blacklisted not only on GEM but throughout the government system. We will ensure that the entire government system does not entertain that company anymore, he said, adding that at a later stage, GEM will move from goods and services to contracts. The minister said the government's public procurement would be in the range of 100 to 150 billion dollar, and probably more if one combines all the PSUs, state government and local bodies. Now coming to the important editorial, the exam imbroglio and UGC's latest review. Imbroglio means confusion state. This topic will come under General Studies 2, education topic, which will come under the governance and social justice. Now in this editorial, the author discusses the various confusion state regarding the conduct of examination in the outbreak of COVID-19 virus, and how UGC is responding to it, and how we may move ahead in this case. So students, let us begin. In the midst of the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus all over the world, the educational institutions have been kept closed since the mid of March 2020. Due to the shutdown of educational institutions across India, the higher educational institutions had to stop the ongoing process of internal assessment, regular classes of theory and practical components, field studies and project report preparation, seminar presentation, and the process of filling up of end semester examination forms. So due to the shutdown, many regular activities have been affected. Considering the academic calendar of most of the universities, holding of all the examinations and the process of enrollment into new batches of undergraduate and postgraduate courses which were supposed to be completed within July, and subsequently start the new academic session in August, the loss of an academic session is appearing imminent in the existing pandemic situation. So as we know, in our semester system, by July the examination should be over, and by August the new academic session should begin. And since it is now mid of August, since the examinations are pending and new academic sessions are not have not begun, therefore the loss of an academic session is a possibility. The University Grants Commission, that is the UGC, has been keeping a constant vigil and issued guidelines to the universities, colleges and higher education institutions from time to time. The UGC in its guideline issued on April 29 last advised that the final year and terminal semester examinations to be held between July 1 and July 15, 2020. But with the passage of time, the situation got progressively worse in the middle of June, and a worrying situation is still prevailing. In this backdrop, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Ministry of HRD, asked the UGC to revisit the guideline of April 29, 2020. On July 6, 2020, the UGC came out with a set of revised guidelines which stated that instead of holding final year and terminal, that is final semester examination in July, those can be held till the last day of September 2020, with the flexibility of holding examinations either through online, offline, or by the blended model, that is the hybrid model. The guideline of April 29 was advisory, whereas the revised guideline of July 6 has been issued as mandatory for all the instructions under its purview. So this point is very important. The 29 April guideline was advisory, whereas the guideline of July 6 is mandatory. In accordance with the earlier guideline, some universities and higher educational institutions have already completed the examination process. Some are in the preparation stage while a section of universities and other institutions accepted the guideline and followed accordingly. But on the other hand, the revised mandate of the UGC has triggered criticism and opposition by some students' organizations who filed petition in the Supreme Court asking for the latter's intervention in the matter. Several students' organizations of Assam have also strongly opposed the move of holding the examination in the existing situation, citing the worst situation created by devastating flood almost in every part of Assam and the continuous rise in the number of COVID-19 positive cases and an academic loss suffered by the students community during the statewide agitation against the CAA protests. The students bodies have submitted the memoranda demanding for viable alternatives. So in this point, it is discussed that Assam has been facing right from last year the anti-CAA protest, then the multiple wave of floods and the rising number of cases of corona positive cases. So due to these cases, the student community have suffered the worst, and the students bodies have submitted a memorandum of for demanding for alternatives. The state government of Maharashtra, West Bengal, Delhi, Odisha, Punjab and Tamil Nadu have also opposed the latest guideline of the UGC and demanded intervention of the Prime Minister. Given the ongoing pandemic situation still worrying throughout the country, the UGC had mentioned certain standard operating procedures to be followed in the examination centers during the entire process of holding the examinations. The UGC has strongly emphasized the safety and security of students' health and life and authorized the institutions to add more safety measures as per the necessity and demand of the situation. As reported by the UGC authority, 219 out of the 946 universities and higher educational institutions have already conducted examinations, while 394 are under the process. There are 35 newly established institutions that have not yet reached the final year or terminal semester level. Taking cognizance of the opposition, the UGC reiterated its firm stand. After receiving opposition, UGC has reiterated or restated their stand on the latest direction in its report submitted to the Supreme Court. Now everyone's eyes are fixed on how the Supreme Court proceeds with the matter. At this critical juncture, one needs to be pragmatic rather than being emotional and too anxious about an unpredictable situation. Where are the better alternatives for opposing the latest guideline for holding the examination in September in the colleges and universities in Assam? So the author is asking that what are our alternatives? Because UGC's guidelines have already said that without conducting final year and final semester examinations, universities cannot grant the degrees. Further, the article discusses if holding the examinations is further delayed, students will get their degrees lately and this will push back their employment prospects. So, delaying the examination has several consequences. On the other hand, if students are awarded their degrees based on the result of an earlier year or semester examination, there lie two negative implications. One is depriving the meritorious and sincere students of getting a reasonable probability of more success in the final semester examination, and the other being the negative tag to be associated with their degrees in future, which will have an impact on their professional career in the future. So if the students are given the degree without the final examination and on basis of the marks of earlier semesters, then there is a chance of always being labeled as that without giving examination they have got their degree, and this may impact negatively their professional career in the future. The stigma of a compromised assessment might carry a sense of self-defeating trauma in the minds of students. They might have some like self-defeating thoughts like we got our degrees without any examination, we might not be best in if we were evaluated. So that might have a negative mindset in the students. After years, these certificates and grade sheets might be treated as averaged out or post COVID-19 or by any other level while considering in selection for further career or employment at home and abroad. the venues for undergraduate examinations centers are still the matter of prime concern in Assam, as most of the colleges and part of universities have been selected as COVID-19 quarantine centers. So many undergraduate examination centers, which are colleges and universities, are used by the government as quarantine centers. If the examinations are to be held in September, the whole campuses of colleges and universities, including the classrooms, laboratories, offices, libraries, hostels and toilets and washrooms, all have to be properly sanitized and well in advance before allowing the students to enter. The wherewithal for strict maintenance of standard operating procedures in the examination centers and at all the touch points of hostels and other places have to be arranged compulsorily. So before the students are allowed to enter the school campus or the college campus, the areas, the frequently visited places like the classrooms, the laboratories, the canteens have to be properly sanitized. For the movement of the students and the officials during the examination days, the UGC has laid down certain instructions in the guideline. Above everything all, a synchronized effort of everyone concerned and a strong preparedness in all fronts at the examination centers will be instrumental in making smooth conduct of the examinations possible. So here the important points of the editorial is discussed. So students kindly make a note of it. With this, we come to an end of today's the Assam Tribune analysis. Students, these are the few initiatives of Civil Services Achievers Point. Kindly enroll in them and ensure a rank in the upcoming examinations. Thank you.